But it could come to a conversation at the end of the season where you say, maybe he took us to a stable place, he got us back to being competitive, but there's someone else who needs to come in or some new players who need to come in.
Ruben Amorim's side advance and Mikel Arteta's week goes from bad to worse. Let's not forget they lost to Newcastle at home in the Carabao Cup 2-0, and now even more questions around the side, especially Nigel, given that they had a man up. They couldn't finish their chances. Kai Havertz missed a few sitters as well. So I suppose let's start with the negatives of Arsenal. He's got to feel really disappointed with how things went today, even though it was decided on penalties.
Yeah, he's got to feel super disappointed. I think that the thing you have to take from it, like you said, they lost to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. My take on that Newcastle game is it's shown me again what we've discussed, that Arsenal need that striker. Isak is one player that people have talked about Arsenal, being linked to Arsenal. He showed why Arsenal need a player like him, and today I think it's another reflection of that. But I don't want to take nothing away from Manchester United. I think Manchester United's performance was absolutely sensational. To go down a man in the 60th minute and to still stay strong, show things that we haven't seen from Manchester United for such a long time, and to go into penalties and get the result, that's the main thing. Because again, when I look at Arsenal, have I learned anything new that I haven't been saying or haven't been seeing? No, it's the same story again. It's been going on for so long. They need a striker, they need a clinical goal scorer, and that's what's missing.
Well, talking of goal scorers, how about Xerxes? Just a couple of weeks ago, he was getting booed off after a half-time substitute by his own fans, and tonight he scores the winning penalty. Things change fast in football, but that's got to do wonders not only for his confidence, but for a lot of Manchester United players who showed a lot of fight in that game.
Yeah, this was a character-defining sort of performance and result for Manchester United under Ruben Amorim. You look at the three biggest results he's gotten so far. Goes to Anfield, and they play and go neck to neck, or throat to throat, whatever the acronym is, with Liverpool.
Toe to toe.
Toe to toe. I'm having a Nigel Reo-Coker. Toe to toe. He goes to the Etihad, and he beats Manchester City, and they were the better team. And then at the Emirates, gets a result, a massive result, FA Cup tie, but it's a massive result nonetheless. And when you look at Xerxes, I'm so happy for him to redeem himself, but Bayender as well, outstanding. He was the man of the match, saves a penalty, but you look at the 4 or 5 or 6 saves he makes late on in the match, extra time. I mean, the pieces are starting to come together. And you would ask me, how long did it take to build Rome? Not as long as you think, Nige. The pieces are coming together. Mark my words.
Still a long way to go, but I give credit to what I see. Little progression in Manchester United, but there's still a long way to go. Again, if Arsenal had the striker that we've been saying, the pattern that we've been seeing for so long, we could be having a different conversation. Saka's missing. Odegaard still trying to get back to his best there. But I think for Arsenal now, the worry is, what's the confidence like? You go against a Manchester United side again, they go down a man in around the 60th minute, and you can't get the job done. That would be a bit of a worry and a concern.
I think on the flip side, though, it shows the resilience that Manchester United have to be able to stay within the match. And I think that's what I noticed the most, was the fight, the spirit, the attitude. Even De Ligt, another player that was criticized, Lisandro Martinez, all of them
Bruno
showing
Fernandes,
the attitude that is proper for a Manchester United player. And I think that's what Amorim's brought. You mentioned the big games, and I think we had the conversation before. In those big games, it actually favors them a little bit more because they can stay tight in and then hit out. And those are all positives. To get this early on, they need to show it consistently. They need to show it when they have to play expansive football, and they need to go up to be able to stay solid. But to get this win and to get all these different moments from all these players that at one point were casted out is something that they're going to ride with.
It feels like a big sigh of relief as well, doesn't it, for Ruben Amorim to kind of measure the progress that we've seen in Manchester United since he's been there. But on the other side, I mean, is Mikel Arteta under pressure, Nigel, because they're going to have a really tall task to overturn the Carabao Cup tie at St James's Park. They're slipping down in the Premier League title race. Yes, you've still got Champions League, but I mean, is there pressure on him?
There is pressure on him. You know, you're the manager of Arsenal.
How much pressure?
There's a lot of pressure on him now. I think it's starting to build. It's starting to question. People are starting to say whether Arteta has taken Arsenal as far as they believe he can as a manager. Maybe it might be another manager that takes them over that next step to finally get them to win a Premier League.
Where do you fall on that?
I feel that he's under pressure. I do feel that you probably have to let the season play out, see how it goes at the end of the season to make that decision. Now, I'm not in the case for sacking Mikel Arteta. I think that would be very silly and naive. Let him finish out the season. But I think that what I would say is the most important thing would tell me where Arsenal is what they do in this January transfer window. You have the window open. You've got finances that make you a club that's comfortable to go out there and spend. Who they buy and what they recruit will tell me where Arsenal are trying to go.
I always thought it was a little naive early on into the season when the conversation was, and I understood it, where Arteta, they wanted to play expansive football. They wanted a striker that could come in and they're going to be unpredictable and get goals from a lot of different areas. But I always thought you still need that reference point. You still need that guy in the games that are not going well who's going to put the ball into the back of the net, who has that experience. Of course, I don't think anyone will want to sack Arteta now, but it could come to a conversation at the end of the season where you say, maybe he took us to a stable place, he got us back to being competitive, but there's someone else who needs to come in or some new players who need to come in to take them to the level where we think Arsenal should be, which is winning titles.
It's the player signing for me. That's the big one. I think I look at Pep history, football, Pep, false number 9, then Pep changed and went against it and got Haaland. Haaland doesn't fit into Pep's style of football system, but he became successful.
Mikel Arteta doesn't want to change and doesn't want to admit, I do need that focal point up top.
Or is it
there is that point. I believe that managers do play that part where they don't want to get that. And then it's also managers want to control the type of players they have in their dressing room. Not all managers are built to handle big personalities and big characters. Some managers are better than that. And I feel for me when I look at Arsenal, they need that striker. We've always said it. It's not something new that we're talking about. But is there the right striker that fits that mould? Because we can say what we want to say about, he wants to play that way, dropping in. Chris Wood is having the time of his life, and he's a traditional number 9, and he deserves all the flowers he gets. No, but it's true. He's a traditional number 9, not pleasing on the eye for some people. He's not a false 9. No, football, you can win it so many different ways. You have to be able to adapt and change. Arsenal becoming way predictable now that a lot of the teams are seeing the blueprint in how to beat them.
Do you think it's harsh to say that Mikel Arteta's job depends on them getting a number 9?
I think so. When you look at the architect and you look at the spine of this team, yes, from box to box, when they're good to watch. No Bukayo Saka, they've fallen by the wayside. And it just highlights so much more that gulf in the box. You look at the Newcastle match. That was a match, yes, Kai Havertz, he misses his chances, but that was a match where Newcastle is playing a high line. Any quality number 9 in the world would recognize, I need to make runs in behind. How many of these players recognize what other teams are giving them when Bukayo Saka's not on the field? A number 9, a true number 9 that would have been in the form of Victor Osimhen, that would have been in the form of Alexander Isak when they were available. They would have gotten the goals, but I think that's on management and ownership.
I'll be honest with you,
Arteta.
I've been very critical on Kai Havertz, and I feel at times probably a bit unfair. He's not a striker. That's the fact. He's not a striker. He's better off playing in that midfield role, deeper role, linking up. He's never been the best when he's played up there, in my opinion. I don't think he's the one, and at the moment he's been forced to play that for Arsenal because they have no other options. They haven't done that well and planned ahead.
Is he the scapegoat then? If you're Kai Havertz, are you feeling frustrated, like I'm playing out of position, I'm missing big chances in these big moments, and all the headlines always seem to be around me whenever
it is fair because when you watch Arsenal play, you think of where their creativity comes from or where their goals come from. And the right side is dominant when Saka's there and Odegaard is clicking. And then it's the set pieces. It's the corners that come in where they score a lot of goals. And that's where, some of the stuff gets swept underneath the rug. So it can't all be, I believe, on Kai Havertz. A strong team, a quality team, a team that competes for the top titles has different places that can get goals.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, there's an element of responsibility as a player where the chances he's missing, he has to take responsibility to say, I've got to score that. That's not the manager's fault. That's not I'm playing out of position. That's I've got to score that. Even if I'm not a striker, I'm seen as more of an attacking midfielder or creative player. I've got to be putting these in the back of the net. So he has to take that blame. You can't be saying, it's unfair. He's got to take that responsibility.
But he's not alone in that. Martinelli, another player that needs to score his chances. And I want to go back to when we talk about 9s and strikers. An element of this match did change when Gabriel Jesus got injured. And we don't know what aspect of his injury and how long his injury is or how serious his injury is. It looked pretty serious for him to get stretchered off. But right now, Arsenal have too many players that are misfiring in front of goal. Too many players that look like they're lacking confidence in the final third. And it just highlights how significant of a loss Bukayo Saka is to this team. He is Arsenal Football Club right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I suppose as well, when you look at what's to come, Arsenal have got Spurs midweek. Manchester United have got a meeting with the bottom of the table, Southampton as well. So it's a different outlook for the week. But this game against Spurs now becomes even more important because, Nigel, you were sitting here on the Carabao Cup saying you can't see Arsenal going to St James's Park and really overturning that tie. So how big does that midweek clash come?
Oh, this is North London derby. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be fireworks because with Tottenham, you never know what you're going to get with Tottenham anyway. So that's going to be entertaining. And Arsenal Arsenal right now are looking very fragile and looking low in confidence. So it's going to be interesting. But when it comes to a derby match, you can never get set to think, OK, Tottenham are going to win this game easy because Arsenal are struggling to score goals. There's an extra element when it comes to a derby, especially a North London derby, that there's just something that boils in you as a player that you can never put into words. There's an extra adrenaline that makes that day so special. But I think it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Both managers under a lot of pressure, too. A lot of talk about Ange Postecoglou, what he's done. Even today, we saw in the FA Cup, they had to go into extra time. He had to bring all the big boys on to be able to beat a fifth division team.
How good was that as a neutral, though?
No, that was
against Tamworth. I mean,
that is
what extra time.
It is what football's about. Seeing the stadium, the way that it is, and the fans that are there.
That's not even real grass. That's not real grass. That's turf. But get on with it.
But it's beautiful.
It's fantastic.
That's what we love to see. And the fact that they struggled shows that the ball is round, and no matter what, you can still fight and have an attitude. But I think the pressure aspect between both coaches is going to make the game really great.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, isn't it? Speaking of games to come as well, let's just remind you of what's to come in the next round of the FA Cup, because Manchester United, their draw today, they'll take on Leicester City at Old Trafford, who you're probably thinking they've got to like their chances against the Foxes, who sit 19th place in the Premier League. You've got Plymouth Argyle at home to Liverpool, and Blackburn Rovers, they'll take on Wolves. And Manchester City, well, their fate will be decided. It's either going to be Leyton Orient or Derby County that they play on Tuesday.
I'll tell you what, that draw there is fantastic because it just means that some of the lower league clubs are going to have a great chance of getting further in this competition.
Which one?
With the Premier League sides playing against each other. It's hard to tell, but there's
if you have to pick one upset.
Well, an upset?
Yeah.
Oh, an upset. I'll say
It's got to be Blackburn.
Blackburn could be an upset for sure. But there's a lot of other matches to come, but I would say that there's some great ties there.
I'd love to see Plymouth make it to the next round at the expense of Liverpool. We'll see, though. This is the fourth round fixtures in the FA Cup.